Welcome to LexiCast, a podcast designed to help you grow in your legal practice, with weekly updates on current topics, trends, and practical insights. Perfect for listening on the go. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're talking directly to you. You, the legal professional who is looking at your practice right now, crunching the numbers, and trying to figure out how to optimize things without completely losing your mind in the process.
Which is a very real risk in this industry.
Oh, absolutely. Because we know the classic dilemma, right? When a law firm wants to increase its net profit, leadership usually defaults to one of three really painful options. Number one, you demand more billable hours.
Which just leads to severe staff burnout
Right.
and turnover.
Right. Number two, you raise your charge-out rates.
Meaning you risk upsetting your core clients and sending them straight to your competitors.
Yeah, exactly. Or number three, you start slashing essential expenses like IT or freezing salaries.
Which might look great on a spreadsheet for a quarter or two, but it's fundamentally unsustainable. It's the traditional trap of the billable hour model. You're effectively trying to squeeze blood from a stone. You know, you have lawyers spending 9 or 10 hours in the office, but they're struggling to log even 6 billable hours because of all this administrative friction. The math just doesn't add up.
And that is exactly the mission of our deep dive today. We're exploring the practice management insights of Catherine Urquhart. We're going to reveal how tweaking often completely overlooked daily processes can massively boost your firm's bottom line.
And do it without burning out your team.
Right. So it starts with this highly effective concept, which we're calling the Captain Obvious approach.
I love this. Most of us have worked with a Captain Obvious at some point, even if we didn't appreciate them then.
Totally. The source gives this highly relatable anecdote about a woman named Elisa. She worked for a local workers' comp business in Western Australia that got bought out by a huge national corporation.
Okay.
And Lisa was told to make her local branch more profitable. But instead of trying to reinvent the wheel or buy some million-dollar software system, she just looked at basic everyday metrics.
The boring stuff.
The boring stuff. She noticed they were doing 8 client meetings before a client went back to work. She dropped that to 6. She noticed meetings were 45 minutes. She dropped them to 30.
Just super specific incremental tweaks.
Yeah. And some of her staff actually mocked her. They literally called her Captain Obvious for pointing out these basic workflow things. But guess what? By fixing those obvious little inefficiencies, Lisa turned that branch into the most profitable office in the entire country.
Which is such a perfect illustration of a profoundly effective strategy. The aggregation of marginal gains.
Marginal gains.
Right. It's not just some abstract business theory. It has proven results in incredibly high-stakes arenas. Take the British cycling team, for example.
Oh, right, the 2003 story.
Yes. Dave Brailsford takes over as performance director. And up to that point, their track record was dismal. 1 Olympic gold medal in 76 years.
76 years of essentially striking out.
Precisely. So what did he do? He didn't look for one magical solution. He broke down the entire end-to-end process of elite cycling and looked for 100 different things he could improve by just 1%.
Just 1%?
Yeah. He redesigned the bike seats. He had athletes wear electrically heated overshorts to keep their muscle temperature ideal between races. He even hired a surgeon.
Wait, a surgeon?
Surgeon, yes, to teach the team proper hand-washing techniques, just to reduce the statistical probability of them catching a cold before a race. He had them travel with their own specific mattresses and pillows.
The idea that hand washing and pillows can lead to Olympic gold is just fascinating.
It works because those gains aggregate. And it's the perfect contrast to what most law firms do. Most firms want this great leap forward.
Right.
Think of the winged keel on the Australia the Secchi yacht that won the America's Cup in '83. A massive revolutionary design leap. Law firms try to emulate that by buying completely new, wildly expensive tech systems, hoping it magically fixes their profit margins overnight.
But great leaps require massive time, money, and risk. Marginal gains just require discipline.
And a willingness to look at the mundane details.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because our sources actually outline 10 specific practice management tips that apply this exact marginal gains philosophy to a law firm. And tip 1 focuses on the biggest blind spot in most practices: billing.
Oh, yes.
Urquhart tells a story about her time as a senior associate. She admitted she had literally no idea what a WIP report was,
Or an age jitter report.
which is staggering for a senior lawyer. For anyone listening who doesn't deal with finance, a WIP is work in progress. It's the record of unbilled time sitting on your ledger.
And your aged debt report is your unpaid invoices, categorized by how many days overdue they are. If you don't know who owes you money and for how long, you can't collect it.
Urquhart thought her only job was to show up, log her 7 hours, and keep the client happy. When she told her financial controller, Melissa, that she didn't know these reports, Melissa was appalled. It sounds negligent, but this disconnect is so common.
It's incredibly common. And it drains a firm's net profit. The traditional model relies on monthly billing. But when you only bill at the end of the month, the lag time between doing the work and getting paid is massive.
So what's the marginal gain here?
Abandon the monthly cycle. Shift to a 14-day or even a 7-day billing cycle, or bill on milestones. If you finish a major contract phase on the 3rd of the month, don't wait until the 30th to invoice. Send it on the 3rd.
It's all about reducing the friction of getting paid. The source even says to check your major clients' payment cycles. If your biggest client pays on the 25th and your automated system invoices on the 30th, you're voluntarily waiting an extra 3 weeks just because your software doesn't align with theirs.
Exactly. And another huge factor here is trust accounts. Managing a trust account takes admin time, sure, but the math is undeniable. Lawyers can legally take money in advance. If you put that money in a trust account, you completely eliminate the collection risk.
Because you already have the funds.
Right. If you use a trust account, the financial buffer you need for write-offs and unpaid bills drops to about 2 to 3% of your total revenue.
And a write-off is just time worked that you can't bill or collect.
Correct.
Right.
If you don't use a trust account, you generally have to double that write-off buffer to a full 5%. That's a direct hit to your bottom line.
2 to 3% of gross revenue saved just by using a trust account properly. That is exactly the kind of 1% gain we're talking about. Moving to tips 2 and 3, we get into the 80-20 rule, Pareto's principle.
What's fascinating here is how clearly internal data defines a firm's client base. If you run the analytics, you'll inevitably find that 20% of your clients provide 80% of your firm's value.
The ideal clients.
Yes, they pay on time, give clear instructions, refer good work. But the inverse is also true. The bottom 20% of your clients are causing 80% of your operational problems.
The ones who call constantly for unbillable updates, dispute every line item, drag their feet on instructions.
And the most shocking yet liberating realization for a managing partner is that you can systematically sack your worst 20% of clients, not replace them, and actually generate more net profit.
Okay, but let's be realistic. Telling a managing partner to fire paying clients goes against every instinct they have. How do you actually convince them to walk away from revenue?
You have to look at the holistic cost. Those problem clients are a profound drain. They consume unbillable time, they stress out your support staff, which drives turnover, and they lead to high write-offs. You need a professional offboarding protocol. You send a formal letter saying, we are restructuring and can no longer service your matters, and offer to transfer their files.
Wow.
By reallocating the energy you spent managing that difficult bottom 20% towards your top 20%, your overall profitability naturally goes up.
That's a complete perspective shift. And the source notes this applies internally, too. 20% of your staff are rock stars driving the firm, 60% are in the middle, and the bottom 20% are joining momentum. Same with your referrers. Find the 20% bringing the high margin work and nurture them.
It requires a really objective, almost ruthless audit of where your energy is actually going.
Which brings us perfectly to tips 4 and 5, time management. And the modern professional's biggest unbillable time waster, the inbox. The source gives a great framework, the 4 Ds. Delete, do, delegate, or defer.
It's a highly effective triage system. Delete the newsletters you never read. Do it immediately if it only takes 1 or 2 minutes. Delegate it right then if a junior associate can handle it. And defer it by scheduling calendar time if it needs deep legal analysis.
I really like how that connects to the Eisenhower matrix our source mentions, categorizing your to-do list into urgent and important.
It's crucial because it highlights the difference between urgency and importance. Filing a court document by 4 p.m. today is urgent and important. You have to do it. But business development, refining precedents, mentoring staff, those are highly important, but rarely urgent.
Nobody is screaming at you to update a template today.
Precisely. And because they lack external urgency, they get sidelined by tasks that are urgent but not important. Minor admin crises, unnecessary meetings. To increase profit over time, you have to deliberately block calendar time for that important but not urgent work.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Tips 6 and 7 focus on delegation and the lawyer-to-support ratio. There is a huge hidden cost to poor delegation. Imagine an $800 an hour tax specialist managing their own calendar or doing basic filing.
And makes absolutely zero financial sense. The firm is infinitely better off paying a competent assistant $80 an hour to manage that workflow. It frees up the $800 specialist to actually generate revenue. There's a severe profitability trap here with senior lawyers. Let's say a basic drafting task takes a junior lawyer, billing at $200 an hour, 3 hours to do. A partner reviews it for 30 minutes, it goes to the client. Profitable. No write-offs.
But what if a senior associate decides to hoard that task?
Exactly. A senior associate billing at $400 an hour decides to do it themselves. Maybe they don't trust the junior staff, or they need to hit billable targets. They might spend 6 hours overcomplicating it. When billing time comes, the client pushes back. The partner has to write off those hours.
So the senior wasted capacity, the firm lost money, and the junior got robbed of a chance to practice.
You have to match the complexity of the work to the skill level and billing rate of the lawyer.
Okay, shifting to tools, tip 8 is practice management software. Focus on quality, train staff, ensure they use it. But lawyers are notoriously resistant to new software.
Because of steep learning curves. To overcome that friction, firms need an internal champion. Someone who understands the software and can show the resistant partners its practical value. If it automates a task that used to take an hour, they'll use it. If not, it's just a digital paperweight.
Which leads right into tip 9, the debrief, a true game changer.
The debrief is the ultimate mechanism for capturing marginal gains, especially with fixed-fee billing. Say you charge $8,000 for a due diligence project. You finish, look at the time recorded, and realize it cost the firm $10,000 in internal resources.
You lost $2,000.
Indeed. But instead of just writing it off, you do a formal debrief. Did we use the right lawyers? Did we have templates ready? Where was the friction?
Looking for those 1% improvements.
Precisely. So the next time you get that $8,000 project, you apply the lessons. Now it only costs you $8,000 in internal time. You break even. You debrief again. Streamline more. By the third time, it only costs $7,000. Now you're turning a measurable, repeatable profit.
That is the aggregation of marginal gains in pure financial terms. Let's hit our final insight, tip 10, the true cost of staff turnover. If you're listening, guess the dollar cost of losing a highly competent senior associate. $100,000, $150,000.
Most guess in that range. But the economic reality is much closer to $500,000.
$500,000 for one employee. How?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you see all the hidden operational costs. It's not just base salary. Months before they resign, they've checked out mentally. Productivity drops maybe 20%. When they give notice, billable hours plummet during the transition.
And they drag down the mood of the whole team.
Exactly. When they leave, they take the sunk cost of all your training. They might take a key client or recruit a great paralegal to go with them. Then you pay an external recruiter 15 to 20% of the new salary. Plus, the unbillable hours partners spend interviewing.
And the new hire isn't at 100% capacity on day one. It takes 3 to 6 months to get up to speed on your software, your precedents. Stack all those hidden drains, and you're looking at $500,000.
Retaining top-tier staff is a critical financial strategy.
So what does this all mean? If we look at everything today, from ditching monthly billing for a 7-day model, to firing your worst clients, to fully using trust accounts, to paying an assistant to protect a partner's time, it all points to one takeaway.
Right.
Improving net profit isn't about forcing your team to work harder. It's not about massive risky tech leaps. It's the relentless application of marginal gains. Having the courage to ask the captain obvious questions everyone else ignores.
We've talked extensively about the compounding power of small changes. So I want to leave you with this thought. Look around your firm tomorrow. What is the single most obvious workflow inefficiency that everyone sees, but no one is fixing because it seems too small to matter? And what happens to your bottom line if you let it run unchecked for another 10 years?
A really challenging question, but absolutely worth answering to protect your practice's future. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.
That's it for today's episode on LexiCast. If you're looking for more in-depth episodes that can also be claimed as CPD activities, check out our LexiCast CPD Plus page linked in this episode's notes. Follow us now to stay up to date, and we'll see you next time.